There's a really cool new compound that researchers are looking at that might be one of the more powerful compounds our body naturally produces to improve our metabolic health. It might be a piece of the puzzle when it comes down to improving insulin sensitivity, improving body composition, improving proper fat utilization within the body, and improving glucose tolerance. And the crazy thing about it is it comes from cold exposure, and that's how we originally have kind of learned about it. But now we're seeing other pieces of the puzzle, and it's very, very interesting. And it's something that active people produce a lot of. We'll talk about that research in just a second. After today's video, I put a link down below for Thrive Market, but the cool thing is I created a really cool nut butter with Thrive Market. So it's not like they just created a product. I literally formulated my own nut butter, 3 different flavors: a chocolate hazelnut flavor, a cinnamon Brazil nut flavor, and a macadamia nut butter. So I made it in tandem with Thrive Market so that they could put it on their site. But if you're looking for the kinds of things that I would eat, the kinds of things that I would literally create, just give it a shot. It tastes like dessert. It's sweetened with allulose. So anyway, you can get that and whatever else you want from Thrive Market, because it's an online grocery store, using that link down below, and that saves you 30% off your entire order through Thrive Market, including the nut butters if you choose to get those. But also you get a $60 free gift. So check that link out down below in the description, and trust me, you will be blown away. I'm finally being able to actually create something that other people can try. So that link down below. So we start with a study that was published in the journal Endocrinology and Metabolism. It had subjects exposed to cold temperatures, like sub 60 degrees, but not super cold, for 90 minutes. So it wasn't like extreme, but it was enough to just be uncomfortable. What they found is that when they did this, subjects started producing or releasing something called a lipokine. And in this particular case, it was a lipokine called diHOME, which maybe you recognize. I've talked about it in a couple of other videos. But this particular molecule increases fatty acid utilization in the muscle. It increases fatty acid uptake. Now, what could this mean, and why is there so much metabolic and scientific promise with it? Well, it turns out that these lipokines, both 1,2 and 1,3 diHOME, are produced during exercise too. And so researchers have been like, okay, well, how do we sort of connect these dots? This happens with cold exposure, but it also happens with exercise. We knew there was some overlap here with cold exposure and exercise, but we didn't really know where. Like, there's some literature that was published in the journal Aging and Physical Activity that found that cold exposure twice a week actually improved insulin sensitivity. And researchers for a long time didn't really understand why. As a matter of fact, researchers speculated that it was a modulation of inflammation, like such a reduction in inflammation that it restored insulin sensitivity in those that might be metabolically damaged. So basically, you get in a cold tub, you have so much reduction in inflammation happening so fast that all of a sudden, like, it helps restore and rekindle insulin sensitivity that was previously disrupted by the static of this inflammation. But now we're starting to understand, well, wait a minute, cold exposure is actually releasing these compounds. And maybe this is what's triggering positive metabolic effect, because it's allowing more fatty acid uptake. The body then uses the fats easier, giving it a break from the glucose for a minute, and it might end up restoring some levels of insulin sensitivity, which is why it's being investigated so much. A lot of this is very, very new, so we can't take it to the bank. But if you look at some other research, like there's a study published in Nature Medicine, if you look at this diHOME, this compound, it's negatively correlated with insulin resistance, and it's negatively correlated with BMI. I know body mass index, BMI, can be a total hogwash sometimes, but when you look at large cohorts of people, it does matter. And we say, wait a minute, well, when there's more of this diHOME, we have less weight. It seems to be something very important. But the cool thing is, we also see it in active people. There was a study published in the journal Cell Metabolism. It had subjects do some bike workouts at 70% of VO2 max, some running workouts at 75% of VO2 max. That part's not really that important. Essentially what they found is when they worked out, they would have these pretty sharp increases in this diHOME, this compound. No surprise, lots of healthy things happen when we exercise. But what they noticed is that independent of the actual acute bout of exercise, at baseline, people that were more exposed to exercise, that did aerobic workouts 3 or more times per week, had high levels of diHOME at baseline. So it's something that active people possess and create and secrete that could be a huge metabolic driver. So that's why researchers are like, wait a minute, how do we bottle what people that are exercising a lot have? We know that people that exercise a lot are healthy. So how do we harness the power of this? They're talking about it potentially becoming the new like semaglutide eventually, right? The new like GLP-1 type of thing. Like, hey, we have a peptide now. We have this that can actually emulate exercise. I hope it doesn't all the way go there, because I don't want people to get the idea that they can do this instead of exercise. But what's interesting about it is that if it can help people get over the metabolic hump that are severely mitochondrially damaged and metabolically messed up, that's huge. How do you get more of this? Well, I've talked about this in other videos. Candidly, exercising in cold weather could actually have a huge double whammy effect. Doesn't mean you need to go like, I don't know, like Will Ferrell and running naked through the streets. You don't need to do that, but go exercise a little bit when it's cooler. Crank the AC down. It doesn't need to be that cold. Like 55 to 60 degrees is gonna get the job done. And that might enhance this diHOME effect even more. So as always, keep it locked here on my channel. I'll see you tomorrow.